Welcome to the Engerati studio. We're located at the Asia Utility Week at Bangkok. And with us in the studio today we have Mark Humphreys. He's the growth leader for asset management in the Asia Pacific region for GE Energy Management, Digital Energy.
Correct.
Did I get all of that in?
Yes, you did. Thank
Okay,
you.
Great.
Well done.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Do
you.
you want to start off by describing what the company does and what your role is?
Yeah. So digital energy is a part of General Electric that offers solutions for enabling smart grids and the grid. That includes software solutions, so solutions for GIS, Geographic Information Systems, and DMS, Distribution Management Systems. So what we've been showing this week to the audience and the people here at the event are what we've been doing in the GIS space, particularly around GIS DMS integration, mobile enterprise, so mobile solutions for people out in the field, and our advanced distribution management system, ADMS, Power on Advantage. So that's a new product we've launched, which we're bringing to market.
Right. Do you want to expand on that product and give us a bit of information
so,
on it and what the benefits are of having it?
So in terms of ADMS, benefits of the product are having a single solution that brings together all the information that's needed in the control room. So if you think about the control rooms, a very sort of intense environment, people making important decisions, access to information is very important. Visualizing and accessing that information in an easy way about the state of the electrical network, the current operating state, where customers may be out of supply, off supply, or requiring restoration solutions. This is all information that needs to be presented in a clear and concise way so that people can make decisions about how to return the supply, how to get customers back on supply. And that in turn is a big business driver for a lot of the utilities that are here this week.
You carried out a presentation here, and you were just saying that you learned quite a lot from the questions that were coming from the audience. Do you want to just share a few of those questions and answers with us?
So I said before, we've been talking about our Geographic Information System solutions, Small World, and also the ADMS product, Power on Advantage. So one of the big themes for this event was how do you integrate those two solutions together? So we spoke a bit about that yesterday, and I gave a presentation about exactly that. And the key point and the questions from the audience were all around, it's essentially an IT problem, right? How do you bring together two different pieces of enterprise software? And like all IT problems, there's always a good standard to use, and in this case, it's a standard called SIM. It's a common information model. So if you think about two pieces of software, both of them have a visualization, a view of the electrical network. That's quite a complex network, a lot of lines and points and lines and so on. And the key point from the presentation was, you have two different purposes for using that network. In the control room environment, it needs to be very clear, concise, uncluttered information. In the GIS environment, it's a lot more about visualizing that network so that people can understand location of assets and where those assets actually live in the real world. So when you bring those two models together, whilst you might think, well, it's the same network, a switch is a switch, it exists in the GIS world and the DMS world, in actual fact there's a lot more to it than that. There's issues around people, the people that use those systems, the purpose, the business purpose for those systems and how they were originally designed. Some of them were designed 10, 15 years ago, and there's a history there, right? And so we talked about the importance of data quality, the need for tools to run quality assurance checks on the data so that data can then be moved and shared around the enterprise.
As far as the technological solutions go in this particular region, where is it at the moment? I know that obviously the region is huge and very varied, and each country is in its own space with regards to technological developments and solutions. But generally, what are the needs here at the moment?
So in terms of technology, if I answer that from the perspective of the Geographic Information System product, there's a couple of sort of themes that are driving that. technology. So let's talk about the themes first, and then the technology that's kind of enabling those. So the two themes are access to information across the enterprise. So if you look at the importance of, utilities really care about their networks. It's how they drive, it's how they run their business. It's how they connect to their customers. So getting access to information about that network is becoming more and more important for two reasons. First of all, there's a recognition, I think, that some of the smart grid projects and investments that have been made over the past couple of years in things like fault detection, isolation, restoration, these sort of things require a certain level of network data quality. So in order to realise the benefits and the return on investment in that smart grid investment, you've got to look at your systems that are enabling that, and GIS is one of those. So we're having a lot of discussions with customers at the moment who are starting to look at their GIS in a different way. Previously they looked at it as a way of generating maps. It was a mapping system essentially. Now it's much more of an enterprise network resource for that network data, and it's used by asset management systems, it's used by distribution management systems, other smart grid systems in the enterprise. I think the other interesting thing that we've seen that's also driven that sort of demand on the GIS system is people's acceptance of mapping as a way of visualizing and consuming data. So the map as a means of providing data and consuming that data, thanks to people like Google Maps and so on, has become much more prevalent, and people expect and they know how to use that sort of data. So the old adage of a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a map is worth 1,000 pictures is kind of one that holds a lot of truth here.
You're a global company.
Yep.
What learnings are you able to bring across from previous projects into this region?
Yep. So again, technology by itself is always the enabler, but not the solution. So people, process, and tools are typically the sort of the focus points. It's really understanding that these utility organisations are quite complex, and in some cases they've been moving from siloed systems and siloed departments to a much more sort of enterprise and network-based view. So that's where we sort of lean on our knowledge and experience from what we've done in other countries, and this region out to the rest of the world as well. If you look at the people here and the utilities here, they all want to know, what else are other customers doing. So.
With regards to any challenges that your company may have come up against, are there any challenges here that may be particularly unique when compared to the rest of the world?
Not so much unique, I would say. It's probably just a different set of challenges, determined by the different companies and where they are in their stage of network electrification, I suppose. If you look at the region as a whole, we cover from Australia, where there is a big focus on cost. So every system in the enterprise and the sort of things that we deliver to our customers has to reduce cost. That's what they're all about. If you look at the discussions we've had with people from Myanmar, for example, this week, well, their focus is about building out the transmission network, planning, design. How do you manage that? And that's kind of the two ends of the spectrum and everything in between.
Okay. What is GE's strategy within this region for the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Any exciting things coming up, or any plans that you guys have in the? So taking those two new versions of our products to market is key, but also then linking them together. So we look at things like enterprise integration of our software. If you look at where the journey we've been on in the past 20 years, we started as very much sort of engineering systems, specialist systems that lived in the control room or lived in the engineering department. The vision that we sort of talked about has very much sort of now come to reality, which is those are enterprise-wide systems. They're sharing data across the enterprise. So
the story I like to tell is that when I initially started working in this technology space, and that was about 18 years ago in the UK, one of the first jobs I worked on was a job that basically output aperture cards. And aperture cards are bits of card with a microfiche film on it, and that's how people took data into the field, and they shared data using these cards. And a big sort of washing machine sized machine would spit them out, right? And now we look at those systems and they're sharing information using XML and interchange formats, and people are taking iPads into the field, they're sketching in the field and sending that information back. So the flow of information is just incredible.
Just incredible, yeah.
Yep.
My last question to you. It's the last day of the utility week of the
Yep.
event. What advice would you give utilities before you leave here today?
Yep. So I would look at, software is a great enabler.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. And it relies a lot on data. So we've been spending a lot of time talking about data quality. How do you ensure the data quality in your organization as more people use software and capture that data? You need standards to ensure it can do what you want it to do within the organization. So we've been looking at, we talk a lot about integration of systems. That's a good thing, sharing more data around the enterprise. But I would, we encourage everyone to think about the data that enables those. Those systems are only as good as the data underneath them, and people are spending a lot of money on these systems.
Yeah.
We want to help them be
Make
successful.
sure they get quality information out of it, basically.
Correct, for quality decision making. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to
thank
us.
you.
I found that incredibly interesting, and thank you very much to our viewers. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. Also, please note that we do have a number of other interviews that you can click on too, interviews with utilities as well as other vendors. Thank you very much for joining us.